Guaranteed asset protection. GAP. Of all the products and services we sell in the F&I office, GAP has the greatest benefit to the consumer of anything we sell. The average car today is over $32,000. Now, if you ever want to get averages on anything, they're really true statistics, bankrate.com. Bankrate.com is a really accurate source for a lot of stats. When I wrote this book in 2005, the first time, the average car was $23,000. Now it's moved up to $32,000. When that $32,000 car drives off your lot, it has about an $8,500 in equity. I mean, the customer's upside down, usually about $8,500. Remember, you got to remember the financing we're doing today, a 60-month loan is upside down for 3.8 years. I don't even know the stats on a 72, and I think 84 is insane. But it pays off any remaining balance on the vehicle. We know that. Why don't customers buy GAP, Patrick?
They've never had an accident before, or they have it with their insurance.
Well, they really, that's one of my best closes. Okay, now Patrick said they've got GAP insurance, including what company, what policy?
It's Progressive, I think. Oh.
Progressive. So they bought GAP from their primary insurance provider, correct? Mm-hmm. Now here's my Ziegler close on that. Mr. Ziegler, why would you create a conflict of interest for your primary insurance provider? If you have GAP with the people that are also responsible for your comprehensive insurance and your collision, if you had a major wreck that was supposed to be considered a total wreck, now they got to make a decision whether the GAP claim or the repair is more money to them. Is there a case where their conflict of interest would make them repair an unsafe car because it was cheaper than paying off the GAP claim?
I use it all the time. That's one I use because it happened to me. I had a Corolla back in the day, and sure enough, it was $8,000, and the car was worth about $8,000. And sure enough, they fixed it because they don't want to pay it out.
And it was not safe.
Nope. I had to drive it for another 2 years.
And you know what the humor of that whole story is? Mm-hmm. Picture of you in a Corolla. Yeah. See you get out of that thing, like watching being at the circus and watching the clown car.
Very true.
Yeah. Oh golly. But that's my best close. I invented that close a couple years ago. Why would you create a conflict of interest for your primary insurance provider? The average GAP claim today is $7,500 in the state of Florida. It might even be a little more. That's stats about a year old, but and unfortunately, most consumers today are rolling the negative equity into their next loan. And one thing you have to understand is the insurance GAP they bought from their insurance provider might not be what you're selling. Now, I assume you sell JM&A GAP?
Yeah.
JM&A GAP pays how much overage?
150% sale price.
150% the value of the vehicle.
Sale price, yeah. Sale price, not the current market value.
Mm-hmm. Run that by me again.
The sale price of the vehicle. So whether that's how they value it. So you're in better position 3 years down the road, 4 years down the road, as opposed to.
Now, remember, when GAP is sold by a credit union or an insurance provider, it may not be the quality of the policy you're selling. So you've got that additional coverage. They might just pay the flat amount. So what behooves you to do, and I used to do this with a lot of credit union contracts, get a copy of a GAP contract from a credit union. Say a customer financed through their credit union. Mr. Customer, let me see your paperwork with the credit union. I'll make copies of it for your permanent folder here at the dealership. What I'm really trying to do is see what they sold the service contract for, what the coverage on the service contract is, because many times those policies they sell at the credit union or the insurance provider do not cover the same quality of things our coverage does. So if you can speak coverage versus coverage, well, Mr. Customer, you're financing with Navy Federal Credit Union. I've got a copy of their GAP claim right here. This is their GAP policy they sell. Mine covers this, theirs does not cover this. You see what I'm saying? So, anytime you can capture a contract on GAP or a service contract from a private provider or insurance company, I keep it on file in my desk. It's part of my evidence manual. Every F&I manager needs to have an evidence manual. And what I mean by that is something that documents personally what you're saying. People believe third-party verification. So when I can find an article that supports my theories or whatever, evidence manual. I also have a personal evidence manual. You have to have an evidence manual in your desk documenting you. I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm a journeyman in three aircraft trades. Now, the best evidence I can tell you about that is I had a guy when I was at Dyer & Dyer Volvo, and the guy's wearing his work uniform, his blue outfit, got his name on his pocket. I said, "What do you do for a living, sir?" He said, I'm a technician. I'm an aircraft sheet metal mechanic at Lockheed Aircraft. I said, "Yeah, really?" I said, "I'm a journeyman aircraft metalsmith myself. And I'm also a journeyman airframes mechanic. And I'm also a journeyman helium arc welder." And the guy's sitting there with his little work uniform, and I got my jewelry and my business suit, and he said, "I'm a journeyman aircraft mechanic." So am I. Let's read his mind for a second. Bullshit. Right? Does he believe me? No. I reach in my desk and I pull out my evidence manual, and I said, "Here is my airframes mechanic license. Here is my welding certificate." Now, of course, you notice that it expired in 1972. And here is my sheet metal mechanic journeyman sheet. You see, I didn't go to college. Out of high school, I worked for the Naval Air Rework Facility in their apprentice program for 7 years and became a journeyman in 3 trades. And when Nixon laid us all off, I never worked in the trades. But I've got journeyman certificates in 3 major aircraft trades from the 70s. All of a sudden, the guy and I are having this conversation. He says, "Did you ever work on RA-5C aircraft?" I said, "I worked on it because I had titanium certification that RA-5C aircraft had a lot of titanium." He said, "Yeah, in Vietnam I worked on those too." And all of a sudden this guy and I got tremendous rapport because I had an evidence manual in my desk that said what I'm telling you is the truth. Does that make good sense? You know, Jackie B. Cooper was a friend of mine, greatest sales trainer ever lived. And he said, if you have a picture of your spouse on your desk, and how many people in this room are married or have a significant other? Oh, just about all of us. Yeah. Okay. How many? I'll rephrase it. How many of you are single and have nobody? Okay. If you are married and have a significant other, have a picture of your family on your desk. If you are single, go to Walmart, buy a frame, and leave the picture in it that came with it. This is my wife with the barcode across her breast. Wow, you got the same wife as that other salesman. Yeah, we're Mormons. Jackie B. Cooper said, "Always have a picture of your spouse or a puppy on your desk. People will talk about a puppy more than they'll talk about your family." Have a picture of a puppy. Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, this is the most important protection we offer. 2 years ago, I was at Preston Superstore in Burton, Ohio. Now, Preston Superstore is a really interesting case in point. Preston Superstore is in the Amish community. And I got to learn all about Amish people. The stop signs there are half and half. Stop, and the bottom half says, "Whoa." You know, really interesting. I didn't know. Every morning in the paper you read where 3 or 4 Amish guys got DWIs in their buggies. Oh, you're from sort of close to there, right?
Oh, there's some, yeah.
Yeah.
Illinois, yeah.
But I'm in Burton, Ohio. I'm at Preston Superstore, and the F&I manager's name is Wally. And I had taught Wally this close earlier, and Wally sat there and gave all this robotic memorization that he had been taught in another F&I school. I mean, he sounded like a little robot repeating the closes. The woman walks in. Here's the scenario. She says, before we get started here, I'm not buying any of the stuff you're selling. I don't want any of it. Everybody got that scenario? You've seen her or him a million times. I'm not buying any of that. So Wally did say, that's fine, ma'am. All these options, as I mentioned previously, are optional. My only job now is sign waivers, releases, hold harmless agreements on those items you declined and agree to self-insure. He did do that. Use a self-insure line on her, and we had some conversation about self-insure. But then, when Wally was all done, she still didn't buy anything. I'm sitting right behind him in his office. Unlike most F&I managers, he actually had an office big enough for 2 desks. So I'm sitting behind him, and I'm acting like I'm working on paperwork. Now, this woman knows that I am not part of the dealership. I'm wearing a baseball hat and a business suit, and they're all wearing polo shirts. So she knows something different about the guy in the baseball hat and the business suit. I said, well, Cynthia, my name is Jim Ziegler. I'm a public relations consultant from Atlanta, Georgia. That's the way I introduce myself when I'm in a dealership. I'm a public relations consultant from Atlanta, Georgia. My job is to be sure that they treat you exceptionally. I said, Cynthia, I'm Jim Ziegler. I'm a public relations consultant from Atlanta, Georgia, and I couldn't help but overhear. And I fully agree with you that you don't need the paint protection. You keep your car garaged and on and on and on. I said, but let me ask you a very serious question. Do you have $25 in your purse? She said, yes, I do. I said, I will bet you that 3 days from now, you will not know what you did with that $25. That's frivolous money. That's inconsequential money. That money is insignificant. You probably will give it to your grandchildren in quarters to put in the video machines at Chuck E. Cheese's pizza place. That is not important money to you, is it? No, not particularly. Do you have $7,500 in your purse? Do you have $7,500? She said, no. I said, do you have $7,500 anywhere in fluid cash that you could write a check for right now? No. I said, so in other words, I know you were struggling when they talked about the down payment, so I knew that you probably didn't have the $7,500. You would have to sell something or borrow something if a $7,500 payment came due to you right away. Well, our average gap claim today is over $7,500. And we pay a lot of them. And the truth of the matter is, if you had a $7,500 gap claim come at you right now, it would be a catastrophic economic event in your life when you're least prepared for it, as opposed to a small, manageable amount that you can handle. A small, known, manageable amount. And our gap is much, much less than $25. So what I'm talking about is a small, known, manageable amount that you can handle, money that in truth is insignificant to you, as opposed to a catastrophic amount coming at you when you're least prepared for it. And her husband sat there and said, I think we ought to get that. I think we ought to get that. But I just taught Wally that close earlier that day. Small, known, manageable amount versus a catastrophic amount. Do you have $25 in your purse? No, you don't. Yes, you do. Do you have $7,500 in fluid cash? No, you don't. That is an incredible, strong close. You like it? Yeah. A small, known, manageable amount. Now, Pete, I saw you wrote that whole thing down. You like it?
Yeah, good.
How about it?
Yes, sir. Very good.
Okay.